Hello, I am boiling a potato, so we gotta go fast, guys. Today, we're gonna be talking about comics, and we're gonna talk about where to start your comic. I have done all sorts of videos on where to start, and it remains a very big question for a lot of people, so I will keep answering it until the end of time. Today, the way I'm gonna approach it is I'm gonna not talk about the ins and outs of writing beginnings and where to find the beginning of your comic. Like, I might start touching on that a little bit, but I mostly want to touch on the idea that there is no right or wrong place to start working on your comic. This is going to be just another one of those hurdles that you can use as an excuse to not work on your comic at all. And it really doesn't matter where you start your comic, okay? Whatever script you write, whatever portion of the story, whether it gets cut, whether it gets expanded on, edited, whatever, it doesn't matter. You just need to start writing it. It's one of these videos, guys. You just need to start. A lot of people enjoy writing the ends first. It's fine to write things out of order. I'm a chronological kind of guy. I love writing in order. The reason that I do that is I like to write kind of like waves of an ocean, where I'll write to like a certain part, it gets stuck, and then start from the beginning, and each time I get farther and farther. That's why my endings tend to fall apart. They don't get as much editing as the early parts of my story. That's definitely an issue that you will run into if you write the way that I do, but it is a valid method of writing. I do get things done eventually. I think it's partly because I work on comics that this happens. Actually, when I write comics, I find my beginnings end up being less well structured because I don't have the opportunity to go back to the beginning over and over again, because like I write to the end and then I have more opportunities to edit everything else, as opposed to if I am writing just, if I'm working on the story, as opposed to when I'm working on a novel where I work very linearly and I need to get the entire thing done and to a point where I like it all before I can hit send on the file and release it into the world. It is a lot of work, novels are. But yeah, back to the where do we begin thing, you really just need to pick a spot, because no matter what you are writing, it's good. Okay, you just need to be writing. I think you need to think about your rough drafts as you would clay, okay? Rough drafts are not about making a finished project, okay? Rough drafts are about assembling the materials. They're about getting as much on the table as possible so that you can like mold it and remove things that don't work, but they need to be on the table first. And I think that's where most people are going to hit a snag, so to speak. So if you are really excited about writing a scene in the middle, just do that, okay? Write random scenes and learn to structure scenes and get it on the table. Get it there so that you can edit it. You need everything there before you can kind of finish your script. And this is why I'm someone who often suggests that you finish writing your script before you start drawing your script, because you're gonna change a lot, especially the beginning, because it's very difficult to find where the actual beginning of a story is. Even if you write chronologically from the beginning, it's difficult. People usually start too early or too far ahead. Most people start too early. That's the advice that I always hear, is that young writers will start too early in their stories. And I think that's pretty true from what I've noticed when I've done critique of writing, which I do every month on this channel. If you are interested in getting the beginning of your story critiqued, you can join me, and I do that on live stream. It's a Patreon perk, or it's a perk for like highest tier members, I believe. Anyways, regardless, I actually tended to be someone who picks up my story too late rather than too early, because I always start my stories when I'm writing them. I tend to write the inciting incident first, is actually what I have gathered from my writing, honestly. Yeah, thinking about it a little bit here. Yeah, what I tend to do is when I'm writing a story, I don't really start with the introduction. I start with the inciting incident, because I think the inciting incident is the place where the whole story gets told, the whole story gets introduced. Because like I've mentioned, I'm not much of an outliner. I tend to just like find my way through the story as I work. I like come up with like a bunch of ideas, and then I just go into the scripts. I spend a lot of time world building. That's where I spend most of my pre-production time, as you can tell from my 7.5-hour video where I just discuss the world building for a comic that I do not have out yet. That's what I do. Like, I think I start with the world building, I build up the world, and then I start a story right at the inciting incident, and then I have to go back and fill out the rest of the story, fill up the introduction, figure out how we got to the inciting incident. Yeah, that's something I've always done, I think, because I always heard the advice that people start too late or too early. Yeah, I've always heard the advice that young writers start too early. So I was like, well, I don't want to start early. I want to start with action. And by starting with action, I always avoided having introductions. I think Magpie suffers a bit from this, which is weird. It kind of meanders. It doesn't really set up what I want it to set up. So now that I'm working on later books, I've been filling things out more and making up for lost time at the beginning with stuff I did not set up. But yeah, like generally speaking, I always just smash cut, let's go to the inciting incident. I don't think Sovereign has that problem. Pretty Mouth definitely does. Pretty Mouth needs a lot more setup. One day I'll get into that like more in depth. But yeah, like you want there to be an introduction, and I think for me it's hard to figure out what the introduction is if I don't know what the story is. Like introduction for me is like everything you need to set up for the inciting incident to work and the rest of the story to work. And if I don't know the inciting incident yet, I don't really know where the story is. So like, where do you find the beginning of the story? You find the beginning at the end of the story, when you have everything written out and you know what the story is. At that point, you can decide whether you need more or less for your beginning. But when it comes down to where do I begin my comic, as in where do I start, like how do I start the actual writing process, it's just by writing. There's nothing fancy to it, you know? It is just you sit at a keyboard, or you sit at a desk, or you sit on the floor, you sit somewhere. I guess you could walk. But anyways, you need some sort of writing implement in your hand, and you just need to write page 1, panel 1, and then you go. You describe everything, panel by panel, or you type down like interior shot, establishing, and then you move forward. It doesn't matter if this is the end of your story. It doesn't matter if it's the beginning, what you think will be the beginning. It doesn't matter, because writing happens in the editing. You need stuff on the table first, okay? And this is just my plea to just start writing. If you have an outline, just pick one of the 5 million plot points you have written down and write it as a script. Just do it, okay? If scripts intimidate you, if writing intimidates you, if outlining intimidates you, just start somewhere and you go. Okay, you just gotta go. You don't need an outline. You might learn that you like to outline, you might learn you hate to outline, but you don't know until you try it. Okay, if you need to find a scene that you need to write, an outline would be a good place to start. If you just have some cool characters that you like, just write them together and introduce a problem and see where that goes. A lot of writing, like everything there is to it, is just about putting things on the table and then working with what you got, editing, changing, asking for feedback, and none of that happens until you have it before you. You know, until you have it written down in front of you, like, you don't know what you got. So this is my plea to you to just begin your writing. Stop being scared of it. It cannot hurt you. Well, you know, maybe a little, maybe it'll hurt you a little emotionally to be writing, but you gotta do it. If you want to write a comic, you just have to write a comic. It has to be bad. You have to get it out. You cannot expect to be SpongeBob, you know, like where he gets the like clay or the marble out and he just goes ba-dunk and then suddenly he's got a statue. Like, you gotta be Squidward, guys. You gotta actually do it. There's no magic, okay? Unless you have that magic, in which case you shouldn't be watching this video because you obviously can do it. Like, it's just not gonna come out great, and you just gotta accept that, and you gotta write. Like, that is where you begin. You begin wherever you want to, and then you just go forward. Anyways, thank you. It was lovely to talk to you again. I beat the boss battle. I beat Galdera's ass. I think that's how you say his name. I beat him. I destroyed him. I wrecked him. I kind of cheated, but I was planning to cheat anyways, and he was still wrecking me, even when I was cheating. And, you know, that took all of yesterday. Well, actually, it took all of the day before yesterday. And then last night, oh, wait, no, it was yesterday. It was all of yesterday. Anyways, I beat a really hard JRPG boss that lost me 2 nights of sleep, but we're free. And as for a Madoka update, because I know a lot of you care deeply about Madoka, my dog. She is okay. She is doing okay. Her face has swelled up more, like, generally, but it's gone down in, like, the localized spot that it was. So, well, hopefully she does well. Regardless, I will update you more in the next video. I hear my potato boiling, guys. I want potato so badly. All right, I'm gonna go edit until my potato is ready. Okay, goodbye.